Thank you, Dr. Tim. And I will get those quotes out there on the notes for today as well. So,
all right. Have a great show.
Thank you. Thanks. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, January the 19th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that will put you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Hope everybody had a pleasant long weekend. If you were off yesterday, remembering Martin Luther King. And we hope everybody is safe in the whole planet tomorrow during the festivities. And welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome everybody. I'm glad that you're with us to bring forward these awesome first century tools, of which I am deeply, deeply appreciative of the man named Yeshua. Sometimes people want to acknowledge me for them, but I wish I had had a mind that had this kind of knowledge and could have understood and brought it forward, but it's really this man Yeshua that deserves all the credit, and how he put together the knowledge of this whole operation called life, this planet, this human energy system, its interaction with the eternal forces in the world, and the tools for its proper management are just mind-boggling, beyond comprehension, and so deeply appreciative. I was talking to someone this morning who's done years of different kinds of work and was still carrying the underlying power person dynamic of a relationship with an abusive father, and just so appreciative of being able to explain step by step from the codependence work how this power person dynamic works and how forgiveness relates, because of course many people, millions of people are doing all the forgiveness they can possibly do, but they've been tricked with incorrect definitions of words. You know, Vladimir Lenin in his writing said, if you want to destroy a culture, you change the meaning of its words. Why would changing the meaning of words destroy a culture? Because in the human realm, culture is passed on from one generation to the next through words. And if you change the meaning of those words, then you change the culture. You can't have a culture of forgiveness when you teach people that forgiveness is letting other people off the hook for the fact that there's pain or trauma moving inside of you. When you really start to look at it, it's ludicrous to say, I have all this pain moving in me, but of course it's your fault and I'll let you off the hook for it. But that's what virtually everyone on the planet is doing. You know, when I first wrote the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? I remember I went in and I spent a couple of days sitting in, I don't remember, it was a Barnes & Noble, one of the big bookstores, and going through everything I could find on forgiveness, whether it was religious, psychologists, you know, whoever had written about forgiveness. And I just sat and read and read and read. And everybody, sooner or later, I don't care who the psychologist was, who the psychiatrist was, sooner or later, you know, they give an example of working with a client, and they say to the client, and how did that make you feel? The biggest lie on planet Earth is that anything can make you feel anything that isn't already within you. And the only way that something can appear to make you feel something is that something is in you. So this person I was speaking with this morning had some power person dynamics with dad. And here she is in a relationship all ready to hook up, get married, and be married for life, really in integrity, and wants it. And all of a sudden his behavior makes a twist. And up comes, surprise of surprises, exactly the same goal as she had with her power person. You know, when I said, you know, goal is key. Goal is what drives perception. So describe the perception of this circumstance. Now, what was the goal you had? identified the goal. Okay, so now let me ask you a question. Is that the same goal you had with your power person? Your power person never fulfilled with you? Oh my God, how did you know? You don't have to know. You just have to know how it works. And when you know how the game works, when you know how the mind works, when you know that all pain's perception is driven by goals, then you understand the why is this happening to me dilemma. The title of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And you're welcome to go, you can order it on Amazon still. It's out of print, but there are usually used copies around on Amazon and on eBay. You can buy it for a couple bucks, or you can go to our website, and maybe Jeannie, you can go ahead and put the link in. You can download it from our website, free. Go for it. Have at it. And you'll see how this dynamic operates and exactly how forgiveness works. Now, in the book, there's not as complete an explanation of forgiveness as there is in a video on our YouTube channel. When I first wrote the book, having worked with forgiveness for a couple of decades, had some pretty good insight into it, but didn't really understand the core of how it worked. It took me another, 12, 14 years of working with that first. Our minds have been wired backward. I always thought forgiveness is about letting them off the hook too. It took me over 3 decades of working with the first century Aramaic ideas to finally understand why and how forgiveness works. If you go to our YouTube channel, read Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and then go to our YouTube channel and look up the video. The first word in the video is PowerPoint. And it will explain to you exactly how the whole perceptual system works, how to collapse projected perception. And when you do, projected perception, that is internal pain projected into this person, and until we clean up our own unconscious dynamics, we literally get to live in the world of why is this happening to me again? I feel so blessed the universe reserved that title for me. Because it's every man and every woman's story. Until they understand that they are creators and how their creative process works, they create, recreate. Why is this happening to me again? Out of their own unconscious dynamics. Go back 2,000 years ago, and what did they say in the scriptures? They didn't say take care of the other guy because they're a moron and they're the problem in your life. What did they say? They said take care of the heart. And the heart, in our modern updated language, would be the unconscious. Take care of your own unconscious dynamics, for out of it are the issues in life. Out of that, your creative process has you creating unconsciously. We have a whole 4-hour audio set and a 2-hour video DVD called On Creating Consciously, about getting out of the unconscious creative process and into becoming a conscious creator. It's the difference between living in the desert and living in the promised land, in the metaphor from the ancient scriptures. You remember that story about the Jews? They wander in the desert for 40 years. They wander in a 35 square mile area for 40 years. Who could be so stupid as to get lost in a 35 square mile area for 40 years? It was not about being lost in a hot, sandy place. They knew very well the sun rose in the east and set in the west. They could have just got up any given morning and followed it. Gone to sleep when the sun disappeared and woke up in the morning and followed it. And they'd have been out of the desert if it were about this physical desert. But that so-called physical desert is a symbol for living unconsciously. Creating out of the same dynamics that we hide from ourselves. And here's how we hide from ourselves. We hide things in plain sight. Everything we don't want to look at and deal with, we put into our brain's image of everybody else. So when we live in denial, when I say, you made me mad, the only reason I can be mad is because there's mad in me. The only reason I can be sad is because there's sad in me. The only reason I can hate is because there's hate in me. If you say, yeah, those people on the other side of the political spectrum, they just make me hate them so much. No, you got hate in you. That's all. And if you don't know you've got hate in you, then you think everybody else is to blame for your hate or your fear or your sadness or your grief. And so you can never forgive what you can't own. You can never throw away what you can't hold. And when you say, you made me mad, you made me sad, you made me afraid, you're not holding the root of that traumatic pain. And this man, Yeshua, 2,000 years ago, showed us exactly how to collapse the falsity of the mind, its projections. Now, people made it into a theology, made it a religion, and all kinds of crazy stuff has been done in the name of religion. He wasn't teaching religion. He was teaching people how to heal themselves and how to live as human beings, how to live as the active presence of love. So when I can forgive, not forgive that person, but forgive as to the pain that's moving in me, I collapse my projected perception by canceling the goal that's driving that projected perception, the darkness that's in me that I put into my brain's image of others, and when they show up in my mind, they have my darkness attached, and I presume that it must be their darkness, because after all, I can see it's attached to them. But it's coming from me. You know, if I've been through it 87 different times with 42 different people, who's the one that was there every time? It's time for these dynamics to be resolved upon the earth. It's time for us to get a critical mass of people who can make that shift so that we can actually live as human beings. So we're going to go into depth in those principles in our upcoming intensive. If you're ready to really ready to take your work to the next level, we've got a 14-week intensive coming up. That's just a thumbnail that starts into, we'll go into depth into every one of those ideas. And the video work that we've done and that we'll be doing during the intensive will be yours permanently. So you can go back. We'll actually, by the end of the 14-week intensive, we'll have about 88 hours of video that will be yours permanently to work with. And it will cover the topic of why is this happening to me again? First century Aramaic forgiveness, healing through relationships, communication. Did you hear what I think I said? Codependence to interdependence, mind shifters, and still point breathing. All of those workshops will be covered in that 14 weeks. And you'll have permanent access so you can go back and build the brain cells. And the average person, my observation over the last 50 years of doing this work is it takes 5 to 10 years for people, people who start and actually dig in and do their work to really comprehend what's going on. And so that core work, that core 88 hours of video will be permanently available to you as part of that intensive. And the next time we do the Codependence to Interdependence Communication Practicum, you'll be welcome as a guest in that workshop as well. And the next time we do it, you'll be welcome in that workshop, and the next time, and the next time. And each new workshop will create another 28 hours, approximately, of video that will be permanently available to build your library of process work. And moving from codependence to interdependence and understanding the difference between projection communication. What's projection communication? It's the communication of the whole world. You made me sad. You hurt me. You made me angry. You frightened me. They really upset me. That disturbed me. That's all projection language. And most of the world has been taught to live in projection.
Michael, you're a little muffled. Did your microphone move?
Okay, is that better?
Much better.
Thank you, sweetie. So when you move out of that projection communication into responsibility communication, what's it look like? It's really very simple. You just move to, gee, you know what you just said brought a lot of rage up in me. Now I've given my mind to show me, I've given permission for my mind to show me the root of my rage. Now that I can access the root of my rage, I can change it if I choose. Now, I might choose not to. I might choose to continue with the rage. But sooner or later, I'm going to get tired and sick of being sick and tired, because the more one rages, the sicker they become, physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, financially. And so we're here to create support for understanding those tools and putting them to work. and having an ongoing support team for moving through it. So, Miss Jeannie, that's kind of the root of things. Do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No questions either way, so maybe just go on and read the next section in your book.
Okay, I'll do it. I get so caught up in these ideas that sometimes I need Jeannie to remind me. Thank you, sweetie. So the next piece of why is this happening to me again is we completed the dilemma, tools with life, or life without tools and life with tools. And so the next section is chapter 1, and if you've got the book, it's page 1. And I'm talking to this character named Richard and explaining the dilemma. Richard, a successful man in his late 30s, was on his way out west, following the breakup of another marriage, when he called me one morning. I just finished reading the book, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. A friend gave it to me and told me about your work and suggested I give you a call when I got to Springfield. Our teaching centers in the Ozarks in southern Missouri, by the way, little town of Theodosia. He said you might have some answers for me and help me make sense of things. I don't know. Maybe it's a waste of time for us to meet, but my life is a mess, and I'm desperate. Springfield's an hour and a half drive northwest of Heartland, where we do our intensive workshops. I had a few days between finishing our summer season and leaving to go on tour, so I invited Richard to meet me later that morning, and he agreed. It was a clear, crisp day, and the leaves were taking on fall colors. As I watched him climb from his car, Richard appeared taller than I'd imagined. He was wearing jeans and a navy blazer over a faded blue T-shirt, running shoes instead of the mountain boots I'd expected for someone traveling to the west. He appeared as if he could fit anywhere and be at home with almost anyone. His face showed intelligence and sensitivity, but carried obvious traces of sadness. The slump in his shoulders indicated what appeared to be sizable emotional burdens. His tales of broken relationships and marriages started before he'd even settled into the house. Typical of many of us before we finally look for alternatives to the way we've been taught to live, Richard expressed frustration, anger, and fear. He seemed to flounder in his pain, using words I've come to know are born in the abuse we visit upon ourselves and others when we blame them. There was an uncertainty in his voice and what seemed to be a controlled anger bordering on violence. I interpreted this to be a product of tremendous frustration and feeling out of control, issues I encounter often among individuals with whom I work. The key thought that we inject in the book here at this point is violence is an attempt to control. The more insecure or out of control people feel, the more violent will be their thoughts, words, and actions. He finished his story and lamented, "Sometimes I feel so hopeless. I wonder if there really are any answers." He looked at me now, deep in his pain, waiting for a response. "Sounds like things are pretty tough for you right now, Richard," I began. "How about taking a deep breath and just being still for a moment? Fortunately, these things pass. We have some powerful tools to assist in speeding up the process and assuring a future that unfolds more easily and peacefully. Has anything like this ever happened to you before, or have you ever felt any of these feelings previously?" Richard admitted that many times he experienced these same feelings of rage, and he went on to describe the circumstances surrounding several relationships that had ended abruptly. He related his belief that no matter what he did or how he acted, relationships and life were hopeless. He explained that he was moving again to escape painful memories that haunted him in each city that had been his home. Clearly, he felt victimized, alone, and confused about how his life was going. His dilemma was not knowing what to do. He was afraid of repeating his mistakes. This prevented him from making real choices. At the same time, he was defensive about his past having anything to do with the present. He made it perfectly clear He wanted only to talk about what was going on in his life now, not something that happened earlier. And so we'll cut the conversation there, and we'll move into that the next level of that conversation with Richard tomorrow. In the meantime, Jeannie, do you have a hand up in the phone queue or anything in the chat room?
No, I was just motioning for you to lift your mic again.
Okay, thank you. Well, there's a good start on the conversation with Richard, and I don't know, maybe it'll open some things up for people. Anybody ever identify with this character? Actually, one of the most common pieces of feedback I get when people read the book is, oh my God, I'm Richard. This is my life. It's about me. And yeah, I actually quite purposely wrote it to include real life circumstances that I have worked through with people. And the whole book is a conversation that, it's kind of Richard is not an actual character, but is a composite of many different people that I've worked with over the years, and gives us an opportunity to open up and have a conversation about the different tools that apply to healing the mind and healing the energetic dynamics within one's own life. So, as I say, you can download the book from our website. If you go to whyagain.org, you'll see a picture of the book. If you click on the book, you'll see a download, and I know it's there in English and German and Russian and Spanish and Farsi. Part of it's done in Thai. We do have a Swedish copy of the book, but they wouldn't let us put it online free as we have with our other versions. But you're welcome to take it and use it, pass it on to someone else. And, it's only been a few minutes, but I think I've covered enough of the principles that I can only imagine several people should be going, well, Michael, what about, or I'm not sure how that works, or that doesn't make any sense, or, yeah, that makes too much sense, or yeah, I've got that going on too. What do I do about it? And so we're here to continue the live conversation with all the Richards out there, be they the male or the female type. It's all of us. It's the story of every man and every woman in our culture. And so how can we support you? What's on your mind? If you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, our call-in number, so that you can ask a question directly, is 563-999-3581. You call that number, you'll be listening to the show. If you push 1, we'll be having a conversation. So how can we support you? What kind of a conversation would you like to have? What area is a challenge for you? What area can we support you in? What's happening in your world? 563-999-3581. And once you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And if you have a question or comment, request for support, if you push 1, we'll be having a conversation. And I'd love to have a conversation with you. What's on your mind? Anybody got a why is this happening to me again? I feel so blessed the universe reserved that title for me. Actually, I've been working on the book for some time, and there was a singles magazine in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that contacted me and asked me to write an article on relationships. And so I was writing this article, and I write slowly, and as I wrote and rewrote and rewrote and rewrote the article, I went back one morning. I remember I was sitting at the kitchen table, and I opened, I was going to review what I had written, and the first words of the article were, why is this happening to me again? And I went, oh my God, that's the title of this workshop on forgiveness. Previous to that, I had titled it The Miracle of Forgiveness. It's like, duh. Not too many people were overly interested in that. But virtually everybody grins and laughs a little bit when they hear, why is this happening to me again? And realize that it's kind of the story of just about everybody's life. So what opens for you as we talk about the principles of responsibility communication? What's on your mind? If you push 1, That will put a hand up in the phone queue, and Jeannie will invite you by your area code to say hello, and we'll be having a conversation. How can we support you? Certainly, we've covered enough principles in just the last 20, 25 minutes that there should be at least one question in just about every mind that's listening. One thought, one place where there's a need for support. And, you know, if I were in your hometown and I'd presented what I've just presented the last 25 minutes, walk down off the stage, whether I was at your local library or prison or school or university or church, whatever it happened to be, as I walked down off the stage after saying what I've just said this morning, what would you walk over to me and ask me? What, you know, if you had been in that audience live and I was walking down off the stage, would you come over and say, "Hi, Michael, I just have a quick question." What would your quick question be? Let us use that as a basis for moving the conversation forward. So if you push 1, I'll put a hand up in the phone queue and we'll be having a conversation. Let's go for it. I know the questions are there. And I know that sometimes people are like, well, you know, my voice might be shaky. I don't know if I really want to talk on the radio. Can you just let that go and make it okay if your voice is shaky? Or, well, my questions aren't important. Actually, your question might be the gem that we all need today. And it might be some of the most, you know, oftentimes it's some of the most basic questions that take people who've advanced in the work. It takes them back to a place where, you know, maybe they've missed a piece of the puzzle. And so sometimes the most basic questions reviewed open a foundation for everything to move forward on another level. So whatever level your mind is questioning at or thinking at, it's a perfect place to ask the question. And all you have to do is push 1 and we'll be having a conversation. And I'll wait. And if you're there, and you're one of those people that waits until the last 2 minutes and asks your question that goes, oh, there's not enough time, you might want to look at issues of self-sabotage and ask your question now. And if we have no questions, maybe I'll just go on and read a little more. All is quiet
there
on the
no
front, Jeannie?
Yep, it is. So go for it.
I'm surprised, but okay. So I'm going to go on with the conversation with Richard. I suggest you notice, Richard, that each quote-unquote situation in your life has one thing in common. Every time it happens, you're there. You're the common factor. You play a part consciously or unconsciously in every event in your life. Are you telling me I wanted those things to happen to me? Richard sputtered. Wanted? No. Participated in? Yes. When you can see and take responsibility for your part in events, things will change. Responsibility is not a weight to carry, but is a key to reclaiming your power. Right, he shot back, crossing his arms as he spoke. So everything is my fault, and if I just accept blame and admit that I'm guilty, then everything will be fine. Is that your point? I'm not to blame. If you want to blame somebody, blame them. I've been the victim too many times, and I'm not going to let it happen again. Teeth were clenched and his shoulders rigid as he glared at me through unblinking eyes. If his mind is as closed as his body language suggests, my work is definitely cut out for me, I thought. Looks like maybe you're closing up, Richard. Take a breath. I'm here to support you. My words were, take responsibility, not you are to blame. This work is about releasing guilt and blame by seeing our own patterns and then healing what is in us that sets up those patterns. My goal is to assist you in recognizing, dealing responsibly with, and undoing your part in each painful situation in your life and learning how to do things differently. Blame is an escape from responsibility and is a way to give away your power. If what happens in your life is everybody else's fault, then why is it that you're the one who's been there every time? I asked as gently as I could, if they're the ones with the problem, why are you the one with the pain? The issue that had Richard feeling so much pain was his "why is this happening to me again" question, which so many of us ask repeatedly as we go through life. It does not matter what the actual event in the outside world is. It could be any combination of relationship issues, employment problems, financial difficulties, or any other number of possibilities. No matter what the circumstances, there's always one common factor. The person having the experience is always involved. And then we have a key thought: blame is a way to give away your power and pretend somebody else is at fault. So that's the end of chapter 1, the dilemma. And in chapter 2, we'll hit that tomorrow. We look at what causes your pain. But in the meantime, what I'd rather do is have a conversation, just read. You know, we've got to stretch out the reading of this book a whole year. Well, we probably won't do that since we've got 24 chapters and we're already through the introduction in chapter 1. But the principles are starting, I hope, to make sense for everybody. And if you're out there in listener land, let's talk about it. Push 1 and let's have a conversation. It's been a long time since we haven't had questions, and I've had to do a monologue that goes this long, sweetie.
Yeah, it's all quiet. Everybody's just listening, I suppose. Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm just kind of listening inside as to what direction to go with the conversation at this point. One of the thoughts that comes is to look at, the person I spoke about earlier. We were talking about issues with her power person, and power person, at least as far as she's gone in her exploration at this point, was Dad. And actually over the weekend I worked with a couple different people who were dealing with some pretty deep issues with Father. And the cleanup work that has to be done in order for fathers to be unburdened. And because, of course, those fathers all had fathers. And the dynamics that go on between father and daughter and father and son tend to simply replicate what's gone on in the generations. And whatever goes on in the generations, when we look at the codependence work, we realize that the behaviors are generally confined to and driven by the generational patterns. And so when one starts to let loose of and forgive the generational patterns, all of a sudden the burden on fathers and mothers starts to lift. And we can begin to function differently than being confined to the dynamics of previous generations. And it's interesting, over the years I've spoken to many people like, well, I swore I'd never be the same as my father, or I swore I'd never be like my mother. And people said about consciously, purposely working to avoid whatever their issue was with that parent and end up unconsciously recreating the circumstances and playing them out again, playing them out within their relationships, playing them out with children. Go ahead, sweetie.
We have 2 hands up.
All right.
So the first one is 541. Is this Julie?
Yes, hi.
Hey, young lady, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I couldn't get the cue to take me, So I just wanted to let you know that. And I called, so I hung up and called, and then I got in now. But somebody else is in, and so I was just calling to let you know that. But I'll also say that I was sort of frozen, like I didn't have any question or anything, but I know there's always something there. So I'm sure it's fear, because I have been feeling a lot of tension in my body, and I do have fearful thoughts about what's going on in the world, and I know how to address it. So, but I just haven't. So I'm just saying, my body is holding tension. Yeah.
So are you enjoying that way of living, or is that just an old habit that you're addicted to?
Right.
So can I encourage you to put the pen to the paper and release that tension that you know exactly how to release? You've got the tools.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do. I can spend some time with that today. I moved recently, as you know, and I just had a lot of clutter, which it was cluttered before I moved. But I want to get ready for this intensive, so I need to get my papers and worksheets and everything in order and be ready.
Sweet.
So there you go. There's my resistance, and it's not hard. I'm at a point where I actually can do that today, in fact. So,
awesome.
So there you go. I broke through.
Well, here's what I'd encourage you to do.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage you to get your code evaluation feedback that Jeannie sent you at the end of the last intensive, and then go to the links for the 2-hour explanation of the personal code.
Oh.
Watch that and really, take in the feedback on another level.
Okay.
Take in the understanding of those dynamics and, take a look at what your work is to do and start to move in the direction of being ready to take it when we start the intensive. We're just a short time away from it.
Okay, Michael, how do I go to the links? Is that on the Facebook thing, or is it on your...
They are on the Facebook page, but I'll drop you an email with the direct link in it.
Oh, that's better, because, yes, thank you. All right, Michael. Well, I'm very glad that I pushed through my frozenness. Yeah.
Well, if you might want to put into your entertainment over the next few days to watch the movie Frozen. Then.
Oh yeah.
And it's very profound. Is this character in Frozen sings, "Let it go, let it go."
Yeah, I've seen it, but I can't think that it's going to be that profound for me to see it again. Do you have another suggestion?
Who knows?
Huh? Okay,
well,
I might do that.
Yeah, I do have another suggestion. My other suggestion would be to pick up and watch It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Watch how the character in Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is in resistance, and how he basically says to Mr. Rogers, "Don't make me look at my life. Yeah, I'm frozen in, I'm traumatized in, I'm in pain, but don't make me look and clean it up." And you might just watch how, as Mr. Rogers so skillfully supports this guy, looking at his life, how it transforms everything in his family relationship, everything with his wife, with his father, with his son. I mean, literally changed his whole family. And it's a true story. I mean, the movie, it sounds like it must be about Mr. Rogers, but it really isn't. It's about this guy who was a writer for Esquire magazine. And pretty nasty guy carrying a big load of trauma. And how Mr. Rogers gently encourages him until he really does start to look at the dynamics of his life. And, it's a powerful story and a true story. The guy ended up writing. You can look up and read the article that the movie's based on. It was a 10,000-word feature article in Esquire magazine. If I remember correctly, it was in 1999. And, it's basically the exact story you just said. Well, I'm in resistance. I'm frozen. I don't want to deal with this. And, this guy had no idea how to deal with the trauma in his life. Literally the week before he goes to interview Mr. Rogers, he goes to his sister's wedding, and he punches his father in the face. He punches his father out. And somebody else comes and punches him out as a result of it. There's a brawl. And he shows up to see Mr. Rogers and interview him with his face all beat up. And Mr. Rogers asked him, what happened? Oh, it was a baseball accident. And Mr. Rogers says, yeah, right, okay. And you just watch how Mr. Rogers just keeps gently encouraging him to look at his life. And, at one point, the guy says, well, how do you do this? Mr. Rogers says, I have a lot of tools. He literally says this. I have a lot of tools that I use every day.
Wow.
So it's a powerful look at really taking the tools that you have and using them every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than being stuck or frozen in the past.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And listening to too much radio that has pseudo solutions for the problems that are going on right now. It's like there's no figuring it out, you guys, and I know that too. So.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's lots of intimidation and fear that pushes people's buttons, and they think that the intimidation and fear that's being put out is what's causing them to feel intimidated and fearful, when the truth is they're feeling intimidated and fearful because those are energetic dynamics within themselves. And those dynamics can be forgiven. And the very same circumstance can then be liberating instead of, reason to be frozen.
Oh, that's getting closer to what's going on. I'm feeling insecure and fearful about my valuables being safe in this cultural climate we're in right now. And then what am I going to do if I lose it all? Because I invested in the market somewhat a little recently. Since I sold my house, I thought I'd move my eggs to a different basket. So I have to break through these eggs being so important, because on another level I know who I am, and then I'm bigger than it all, and I'm creative, creator energy, and I will be guided and find my way. I will be accompanied by many mighty companions. But that still sounds a little wimpy when you talk to the world about it. So I keep it to myself and plug along. But I can't help it. I feel a resonance that I'm feeling anxious about and tense. So you're saying, just again, a reminder, it's already inside me. It's being resonated. And that's where I can do the work. So it's an opportunity.
That's where you can free yourself of it. Yes, good breath. Good breath.
Yeah.
That one sounds like relief. Relief is just a breath away.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, supporting you in every way, moving it forward. Next layer, next level.
Yeah, and for everyone, we are doing this. As much as I want it for others, I've got to keep doing it myself, and then it opens for me and it opens for others, and there's just there is a way out of all this. That is the way.
For sure.
That is such a relief. Thank you. Well, I think you have another hand up, so go ahead.
One other thought is just remember that, Job gave us a really important lesson in the story of his healing crisis. And if you read the book of Job, it's a story of a major healing crisis, of some issues that this man Job has. But at one point, he has a really powerful insight. You're not hearing me?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear about, you were going to tell me something about Job.
Yes. So Job has, in his healing process, if you read that book, and the whole thing is about a healing crisis, at one point he realizes that the fear that he holds is the amplifier for his creative process. And he says, that which I feared most has come upon me. And so the first place I would suggest you start working with the forgiveness process is around this fear of losing your valuables.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm creating it. Is that what you said?
Precisely.
The amplifier for the creative process? Okay. Oh,
exactly.
I got that. Okay. Good, thanks. Yeah, so that would be a mind shifter that you could invent, or I can just do my own invention, or just use my tools. The tools.
Use your tools, and if you'd like a mind shifter, sure, get your pen ready.
I'm ready. Thank you.
It's safe and healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the ability.
Okay.
To hold everything that I fear.
Mm-hmm.
In the space
Mm-hmm.
of conscious, active, present love.
Oh, I love that. That's what I always want to trust. And I just said that sounds so wimpy in the world, but it's not. People just don't get it. It's the most powerful thing. Thank you.
So have fun with that mind shifter. All right, young lady. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, blessings.
And thank you, Jeannie, for the link. All right. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. All right, our next caller is actually a Skype caller, so I don't have a number. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Good day, Jeannie. Good day, Michael. How are you?
Hey, Bob.
Well, hey there, young man. How are things down under or up over, whichever way we look at it?
Recently we had a cyclone that was heading my way, but it decided, I just put the energy out there and said, no, thank you, not this year, and it's cleared off. But we've had loads and loads of beautiful rain. It's been raining for about 2 or 3 weeks, solid. I think I'm developing webbed feet. But
ouch. Well, I guess that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, living in Queensland, if you don't love the rain, you shouldn't be in Queensland. It's beautiful. But what I just wanted to share, Michael, was something that's been prompted by conversation in the chat room, and I'd just like to share an amazing aha moment that I had in 2005 when I became a ship's captain, and I took my first boat out with all these people on to take them around the beautiful Whitsunday Islands. And it's once I got out the leads, I suddenly realised that, bugger Bob, the buck stops with you. You are totally responsible for all the lives on this vessel, the safety of this vessel, and even the vibe, the energy on the vessel. It all comes down to you. And then I watched that Russell Crowe movie, Master and Commander, and then this light bulb went off. All I did was take that ideology of being a ship's captain and a master and commander and apply it to my whole life. So since 2005, yes, I am master and commander of my life, but I take full responsibility for this life that I do create. So that was an amazing step forward. And then people have been mentioning triggers or buttons. And for me, once upon a time, I too used to have triggers until I realized that my triggers were just showing me the areas where I needed to do some work. So
right.
I find it funny in social media now, it's lots of articles that you get, trigger warning. I'm not going to stop speaking my truth, just because somebody might be triggered by it. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say. I love being calling in and sitting in the chat room, and I find it a safe haven in what is a very crazy world at the moment. But yeah, I'm living my own insanity and enjoying it. Yeah, I think I'm just sitting back and watching the show, Michael. You know, I believe that where attention goes, anything goes. I'm aware of all the corruption that's going on in the world, but I don't have to live it. I don't have to engage in it. For me, it's the end of an empire. The beast is dying, and it's just becoming more and more ridiculous in its final death throes. So for me, everything is unfolding perfectly. And yeah, so I've got no fears. No worries, mate, as we say in Australia.
Well, I join you in being the space that holds that the beauty that can be born out of it is ready to happen. And, you know, the egg has been cracked in so many ways, in so many places in the world, especially in America. And that being birthed out of it is a higher level of integrity, a higher level of expression and of love. And that's certainly the space I'm here.
You just hit the nail on the head there with that one single word, Michael, and that's integrity. And the Mayans predicted this. You know, in 2012 there was that big scare. Oh, the world's coming to an end, but the Mayans were just saying that no, an era is coming to an end, and it was the age of power was ending, and the age of integrity was beginning on December the 21st, 2012. So we're now, 8 years into the handover, if you like, and slowly, more of the power is being overcome by integrity until integrity reigns supreme for the next epoch. So
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, wherever I look around the world, integrity is overcoming power, and that just gives me a lovely, warm, comfortable, safe feeling, because I know humanity is coming together in heart space and not head space. Okay, I'll shut up now, Michael, because I could talk for hours on this.
I'm with you, sir. I'm with you 100%.
Thanks for taking my call.
All right, blessings. Appreciate you. Lots of love.
Thanks.
Have the best year yet of your eternal life.
Always.
All right. It's interesting as you talk about the Mayan expression. You know, on 9/11, I actually got a call from one of the people I've worked with for years, and they asked me if I had listened recently to an audio. Jeannie, we're getting keys clacking in the background. Maybe you can mute that. But they asked me if I'd listened recently to an audio tape that I had done some 15 or so years before that. And the audio tape was entitled Pyramid Prophecy. And in that tape I had done a lot of work over the years previous to that on pyramids, understanding them. And in Pyramid Prophecy, I had pointed out that there was a measurement that they called the pyramidal inch, and that if you looked at the entryway up and then up across the floor of the king's chamber, there were markings on the floor of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, that really pointed to every major event in history, literally over millennia. And that as you got to the last marking, which was at a juncture where either you would go up into the king's chamber, which is seen as the seat of power, or you'd go down into the pit of unknowing. You know, there's a split in the passageway. And the last marking was 9/11, 17th of September 2001. And that was just days after the whole 9/11 fiasco. And the interpretation that I had offered on Pyramid Prophecy that I'd done 15 years earlier was recognizing that humanity was either going to step up into an enlightened state, into the king's chamber, or was going to go even deeper down into the pit of unknowing, the pit of unconsciousness. And certainly there's been enough of that unconsciousness that has ensued. And at the same time, the knowledge of living truly as human beings, as love, as we're designed to do, I think at that time, that by that date of September the 17th, 2001, there was a lot of compassion going on for America, in America, and a lot of people wanting to do something different than what unfortunately the darkness took over and did in terms of making war. But there was, I think, a step upward into a more awakened and more enlightened state, and we've seen healing crisis after healing crisis after healing crisis spreading throughout the whole globe. And, you know, for me, it's about holding a space and doing our own work personally and holding a space for people who are engaged in some of the traumas, and I mean from war to, you know, the insanity that's happening in the political system today, that if enough people can hold to that connected space of active love, we can bring a transformation and change the whole dynamic of hate and fear on the globe. And as I see it, this white supremacy that's making its last gasp, if we can hold a deep enough space of love for its healing, then we're going to move past all of this trauma and drama and really reach a new level of living literally as human beings. And of course, our definition of a human being is just hold a newborn child and recognize the state of being. And of course, we each have to participate. We each have to be vigilant in our own lives and our own minds and our own family systems to bring forward this presence of love and to make sure those who are working for us do the same. And it doesn't matter what political party is in power. There needs to be watchfulness, there needs to be vigilance, there needs to be participation for love, for human life to really bring forward the ruling energy that needs to be expanded on this planet so that we can all live as humans are designed to live out of the presence of love and as the presence of love. So just invite everybody to think about that, and if there's anything that you carry that is less than that, fear, rage, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma, forgiveness is the key. Forgiveness, remember, means removal. It doesn't mean letting somebody else off the hook because of what's moving in you. And when enough of us remove the hostility, the fear, the grief, the rage, the guilt, then we'll free our world of those dynamics that take over so many minds. And when we choose to come forward as the presence of love, then the game changes. And that's what we're here to do, to change.